Hi, this is Jeannie and this is Bisaya in America. So how's your 2021 so far? It's been crazy. The first week was crazy. I went to a Sonic a couple days ago and it was really funny. I think this is my second or third time in a Sonic, so I don't really go for fast food, and so I just tried it for lunch break, just do something different. So I tried that thing where you just park your car and you order. I was thinking it was going to be faster because there was a longer drive-through line, but for some reason it took longer. And not only that, I got a free show. So while waiting for my order, which took minutes, maybe more than 15 minutes of waiting, is terrible. So I don't know how many staff they have at Sonic, or this particular Sonic. But anyway, so I was just so hungry and I munched on my tater tots. And then so my car was parked and I was just, trying to eat my lunch because I was running out of time for my lunch break. And I saw this woman she looked like a regular woman with jeans, and she had a phone, and she was like a heavy set woman, and she starts looking around, being suspicious, acting suspicious, and lo and behold, she pulls down her pants, starts I don't know, she just starts peeing in front of me, and I'm like, oh my god, is this happening in a Sonic? So she peed in front of me, and I saw everything. I saw her butthole, I saw that thing, the thing where the pee comes from, and I swear I've never seen so much pee in my life. It was like a whoosh, a waterfall of pee. And that was okay, yeah, I thought I left the craziness of 2020 behind me, but apparently the craziness of 2020 is not over yet. So it's, I don't know, I can never unsee it. But I'm grateful, though, that she didn't do a number 2 as well. So at least it was just a number 1, and she just peed. And then after that, after she peed, she just pulled her pants up again, and then picked up her phone, which she put on the ground, and then she started going to to my left. There was an empty slot there where you can park your car and you can order. So she doesn't have a car. I think she was just gallivanting about in the neighborhood or something. She starts pressing on the button, and then there's this car that comes in, and this woman inside the car rolls down her window and starts arguing with her because she wouldn't get out. She was just pressing the button and trying to order and stuff. It was really funny, and I just left there because you can never tell with these people. They're very unpredictable. So I'm okay, yeah, so 2020 was not the craziest year. I mean, I'm still in the first week of 2021, and it's been crazy so far, especially, this Wednesday, or I think it was this Wednesday, so time really flies by so fast. So this Wednesday, one of my friends texts me and tells me that, this thing is going on in Capitol Hill. And she said, CH. I said, what is CH? And she said, Capitol Hill. And I'm okay. So I didn't really know what she was talking about until I checked on my phone. And, because I work in healthcare, you don't really look at your phone, you don't have time. You're just, with your patients. And I wasn't really paying attention to the news because who would, I usually do check it before I go to work and after, I leave, and after I clock out. And so I was just flabbergasted because apparently a bunch of goons or whatever, a bunch of protesters, and we know the crazy protesters, which was kind of predictable if you think about it, because it's been, talked about, and it's just been talked about for months that they were going to do it. They were going to storm the Capitol or whatever. And there was actually, I think they had a dry run in Michigan or something where they actually invaded like the city hall there, or I know it was like federal building. So it was kind of predictable, but at the same time, the way that it really happened, like, you sort of expect it, but not really expect that it's really going to happen. It's like you're just still in disbelief. And I was just looking at the news, and like I was just flabbergasted. And of course it was expected, because there's people that are crazy and they just believe fake news. They don't vet their news. They don't investigate on their own. They just accept truth for what it is. I don't know. And I'm going to talk about this phenomena because I actually wrote a book about it. It's in my first and second book, Love in the Time of the Trump Era. I was supposed to write book 3, but I was just waiting for things to unfold. I was basically, my book is about like what's been going on in America since like the past 4 years, since the 2016 elections. And it's just all about fake news and politics and how like crazy has been normalized. And this is just a culmination of it. Hopefully this will be the end of it, but who knows? We don't know. In January 20, we don't know what's going to happen, because crazy is just crazy. And so I expected it, but I didn't expect that it was really going to be that bad, like the siege at Capitol Hill. So you don't want to it was just weird, like coming, like logging off at work and just looking at my newsfeed, and I'm like, whoa, like this is what happened since I've been at work. This is crazy. And you see pictures of people climbing the walls and like breaking windows and then just vandalizing the Capitol. And incidentally, that's where I had my first date with my ex before we actually had a selfie at Capitol Hill. Like the backdrop was Capitol Hill, which is kind of like crazy. But yeah, anyway, I don't want to talk about the past that much, because it's the past. But yeah, we did have our first date in Washington, D.C. And because I lived in Columbia, Maryland at that time, and I think he was in Virginia, living in Virginia, and he drove over, and then that was like the middle ground. And so we actually took a selfie in front of Capitol Hill. But I've since deleted that picture because it brings so much like iffy memories, and I probably need to do more therapy on that one. So anyway, I've digressed so much, but yeah, I think it's time to open this drink. I usually don't drink though, but I started drinking in 2020. I was like, what the hell, the world's gonna end, I might as well drink. But literally when I say drink, it's just maybe a glass or two. 2 is the max. So I'm not like, I have not turned into an alcoholic, unfortunately, during the 2020 pandemic and the 2021 craziness, I still have not, but I actually tried this thing. It's called a barefoot spritzer, and apparently it's alcohol. That's why I was thinking. That's why I bought this one, because it says it's a Moscato wine-based spritzer. So I was like thinking that spritzers are like maybe like shandies, that they don't have alcohol but they taste like alcohol. But apparently it has 5.5% by volume. So let's open this up, and so because I'm going to talk about 2020, and it seems like it's appropriate to open a drink or something. So I can't even open it. So I'm not. Oh, okay, there you go. It didn't even. Yeah, you can't really hear it. It's a small one. I'm probably gonna get drunk with this small. Like, it is 8.4 ounces or 255 milliliters. So yeah, I'll probably get drunk with this one. But this needs a drink. So yeah, so it's really pretty crazy that, you know, when you log off at work and then there's like a siege at the Capitol or Capitol Hill, and it's like, whoa, what happened? I thought like 2020 we left that craziness behind, but apparently, you know, this is just the first week of January, first week of 2021, where already there's craziness and stuff. So it's not a good sign, actually. It's not. So talking about 2021 though, how's your 2021 so far? Do email me, homeofgenie@gmail.com, HOMEOFGENIE@gmail.com, and tell me how your 2021 has unfolded. So for this episode, I'm also going to be talking about 2020. Is 2020, it was just a crazy year for me. I spent the latter part of 2020 in the northern part of New Mexico. I was really isolating. It was nowhere, middle of nowhere. I was hours away from civilization. I actually stayed in New Mexico for a total of 12 months because I just wanted to heal a broken heart, you know, and just hid there for like a year. And after a year, I was like, you know what? I don't want any of this anymore. I'm leaving this. I'm going to where there's actual people and traffic and like really things and stuff to do. And lo and behold, when I moved to Texas, there was a lockdown in March, and that was like on my second week of arriving here in Texas, and I was like, oh no, you know, this is crazy. But yeah, so 2020 was really strange time for me. So as I said, I started in Nowheresville, New Mexico. It was an oil town, and I remember that I moved there. I was in the southern part of New Mexico for the first part of 2019, and the last 2 months up to January and February, I was in Nowheresville, New Mexico, and it was pretty bad. Like, they were overpricing everything, including the apartments, because there was an oil boom. It was an oil town, so everybody there who lived there or who worked there were transients. They were just there for the oil and to work in the oil fields. And, you know, I happened to find like a really cheap apartment, but it was like a stinky apartment, and it was an icky apartment, and there are like mice running around. But I had no choice because I had to accept that position, that travel contract, or that so because I'm a traveling healthcare worker. At that time, I had to accept it because it was my assignment and stuff, and I had to stay there for 3 months. So it's pretty weird. Like, the neighbors would knock at 9 o'clock at night, and I didn't open the door, of course. It was just pretty weird, and they would get mad if I park or something. I don't know. They were really crazy. And then my next door neighbors, they were screaming at each other, and I'm like, oh my God, when am I going to leave this place? And I remember that me and my doggies, so I have 2 doggies, Yorkies, Bacon and Sky, and we were walking as we usually do, and one of our neighbors, like, her daughter opened the gate, and her vicious dogs came out and attacked my doggies, like literally attacked me and my doggies, and it was pretty scary. But luckily, there was a woman in a truck who came out of nowhere, and she rescued me. She said, hop in my car, like, let's get out of here, you know, those dogs are crazy. And I'm like, yeah, but the fact that she honked the horn and stuff, it was enough to deter the dogs from attacking us. I was really grateful for that stranger. She was like my hero, you know. No thanks to that neighbor. I could have really reported them because, like, they were vicious. They were attacking my dog, Bacon, and luckily Bacon didn't have a tail because those dogs were trying to bite his tail, and he has a stubby tail, so they were not able to bite it. So we got protected, and Bacon was wearing his like winter coat because it was winter at that time. So I was really happy to get out of there, and I moved to Texas sometime in March. So the first week I was like, yay, finally civilization. And then like a week or 2 weeks later, it was like the quarantine, and there was a lockdown. And I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? But I was really, I'm still grateful that I had a job throughout the pandemic, because I know a lot of people lost theirs. But since I work in healthcare, there was a lot of jobs still. I mean, not as much as like before, like there would be jobs knocking, but now it's steadily coming back, because of the vaccine and like just people's optimism about the virus. So about the COVID. So it was pretty interesting. And when I got here, like I thought, like, you know what, I'm ready to heal my heart. It's about time. But it didn't work out that I was hopeful, but then I started dating a guy, and I didn't know he was a psycho, like literal psycho, and I didn't know that he had psychological issues. And I'm glad that he's out of my hair and stuff, but he was really weird. And like we have common friends that told me like stay away from him, he's like crazy. And I'm glad that I was warned, actually, because like but I only dated him a couple months, and it was like, I'm really glad, like he is like batshit crazy psycho, and I'm glad. I'm like, oh my God, like he was even worse than my ex, if you think about it. But if I really think about it, but it's okay, it's good. And I remember too, like I was riding with a friend. I usually don't like to ride with people because I feel that I'm the safer driver, because I have my wits about me, and I know that I'm a safe driver. But I trusted her, and I didn't know that she had drunk, that she was drinking. And she just told me like, oh, I just took a few sips and stuff, but she was literally tipsy. And she said, oh, let's go over there. And the place that took 5 minutes, it actually took us 30 minutes of my hell ride. It was like, she literally like was like, we drove around, and she was weaving in and out, and then she was driving against traffic, and I was freaking out. I was screaming. I'm like, I don't know. I was so scared, and I was like, oh my God, never again will I drive with someone else and stuff at the wheel. And it's pretty funny if you think about it. I mean, because I survived, it wasn't funny at that time, but it was kind of funny because literally it was just 5 minutes away. Like the establishment that we were going is literally 5 minutes away, and it took us 30 minutes because she drove through a sign. She ran over a sign at a parking lot, and we parked at a parking lot, and she said, oh, I gotta pee, I gotta go over there. It was pretty insane. And that girl has issues. And I actually told her about it, and she said, oh, I'm sorry, I don't remember, because of course she was tipsy. She was just probably drinking. I don't know how much she drank, but yeah. And so I really learned a hard lesson, but it was funny again because I survived. Also, part of last year of my 2020 was we evacuated a whole building, and because of a hurricane. So I work in healthcare, and that building was near the path, or actually it was going to be in the path of a hurricane, and we had to evacuate all of the patients there, and we had to move north. It was pretty crazy. It was pretty insane. And it was like, whoa, I've never like experienced this before. Actually evacuating people, helping evacuate people. It was pretty intense, and we stayed there for a week, and it was so intense, and like we helped out as well because we lacked the staff. to help change those people, dress them and change them and feed them. So it was pretty bad situation. And I was so glad that when we finally went back to the building, our actual building, after a week, and it was okay, but a pretty intense situation. And another thing too, I dodged a hurricane. So I was told that, hey, you can go to work and, we're not going to be under the path or in the path of another hurricane. And I was like, okay, I trust you. But whoa, when I came to work, around 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, we were told that if we did not evacuate at that time, the wind was getting stronger and the rain was getting stronger, and the hurricane was literally going to pass through that town, that part of Texas. It's somewhere in East Texas, and it was going to go through that part of East Texas, and we had to leave, because if I left before or after 4 o'clock, I wouldn't be able to go back home, because I would have to stay in the building because it was really getting bad. And I remember I was freaking out because the wind was really strong. And when I got out of my, the building, and I went inside my car was shaking, and so I had to drive an hour under these conditions because I had to leave that part of Texas, and go to the city. And it was pretty scary. It was scary. And again, it's funny when I think about it, hey, I dodged a hurricane. That's so funny. I definitely have stories to tell my grandchildren for sure. But yeah, I was pretty intense, and I was hydroplaning, and my car was shaking for an hour, and I was just praying in the car. I was like, oh my God, I hope I survived this. This is so 2020. And at the same time, I was just, I was freaking out, but I was just in my head, I was laughing it off because I'm like, oh my God, this is so 2020. Yeah, it was pretty wild. Dodging a hurricane, I don't recommend it. But it's pretty fun if you survive it. But if you're in that situation, it's not very fun. Looking back, I can laugh at it now, And 2020, I got the corona. I was before I got the corona, I was one of those oh my God, the virus is out there. I'm gonna die. It was I was pretty intense. I would hand wash. I would wear a mask when I go out. I was pretty, I don't know, I was very paranoid. I'm like, oh my God, the virus is out there to get me. And then when I got it, I was pretty sick. I was sick as a puppy. I was sick for a week in recovery. I realized actually it takes longer. So it took a while to recover from COVID. It actually took several months because during the time I had COVID, I was pretty sick, literally sick. I was so tired. I had a fever. I lost my sense of taste and my smell, but I think it was the fatigue. I was extremely tired. I could barely stand up. I could barely walk. It was pretty bad. And all I can remember is that I had severe migraine. And I never have migraines. It was so intense. And I was just crying in pain. I was like, oh my God, this is so horrible. I've never had a migraine before. It's migraine times 1,000. And I took a lot of Advil, and I didn't go to the emergency room. I did have some shortness of breath, which lasted for a few weeks, actually, maybe 3 weeks. I was still short of breath, but it wasn't an emergency, my life was, I feel that if that had gone on for more than 7 days, I think if the COVID had gone on for more than 7 days, I think I would have been hospitalized, but luckily, it didn't get that bad. So I'm grateful for that, but I can really understand how other people And I have asthma too, but I got lucky. It didn't get triggered, but I can totally understand if you have a comorbidity, underlying conditions that you will just not survive it. And I think with the complications too. And my complications were kind of weird because I had short-term memory loss, and for a few months I had like tingling in my feet. It's like neuropathy. That's the best way I can describe it. And I don't have it now, but I had it like until last month, and I think I had my COVID in July. So July, August, September, October, November. It took a while, like maybe 5 months for it to go away. And I remember like I easily bruise. I have like huge, like ball-sized, baseball-sized bruises on my legs. I would easily bruise. And I think the worst symptom that I had after COVID wasn't the shortness of breath. I mean, the shortness of breath was manageable because I would pace myself. But I think it was the short-term memory loss. It was pretty crazy and intense. But yeah, remembering that or not remembering that you don't remember something, it's pretty crazy. And I remember this happened like maybe up to like 4 weeks ago. So my last symptom was just confusion, like brain confusion. Like I don't have dyslexia, by the way, but I think I can understand how it works now, because like I would confuse the 6 with a 9 and the 3 with a 5, and that has never happened before. It was pretty crazy. In my head, I was like, this is a 6, but it was actually a 9, and I kept pressing the button, and I'm like, what's going on, but it's a 6, but I was pressing a 9, or I was pressing a 3, and it was a 5. And then I had like short-term memory loss and not remembering that I did something. But now I'm like really, really trying to be conscious of what I'm doing. And so far I can account for time, and I don't have lost time. I don't have, unlike before where there was like literally like, if you could call it a glitch, I would like forget that I put on a mask, that I actually have 2 masks on, which is kind of weird. I'm like, oh my God. But it's not as bad. I had a coworker, and she would leave the refrigerator door open, during lunch break, and she would leave the microwave door open, and she would just laugh about it. We call it Corona brain. It's funny if you think about it, but it's the best you can do given the situation, So I'm drinking my drink, and yeah, it's okay. It tastes like Moscato. I don't know what Moscato is. It's a wine-based. Yeah, Moscato is a white wine, apparently. Yeah, and it's pretty cool, the thing that I'm drinking, is I didn't know that you can put wine in an aluminum can. So, good for them. They're like thinking of ways to make this more accessible to people. It says fizzy and light wine style. So yeah. So I'm drinking right now while making this podcast. So, yeah, that was my 2020. Oh, and it doesn't end there. It doesn't end with me having COVID or dodging a hurricane. It actually was pretty interesting. I remember while driving to work, like a rock hit my windshield and it cracked, so my windshield broke, and I had experienced my first flat tire. And oh, I love YouTube. I have this weird jack and this small tire, which apparently they called a donut, and I learned it for the first time, and I learned how to change my own tire for the first time using a mini jack. Like, it's like so tiny, and it took me a while to get the wheel, the flat tire off, and put the donut in, and then drive to the car place, or no, the tire place. So that was like really, really intense situation. I'm like, I think it took me an hour, and I had to go I had to watch a YouTube video in order to know how to change my tire, because apparently my tire has a lock and it has a special lock, and I had to find the lock, and and it really helps. As a tip, if you have not changed your own flat tire yet using a tiny jack, use your legs. So your legs and your feet, it has more strength than your arms, so use that. That's a good tip. Anyway, would save you an hour. And also my car almost stalled for some reason, because I've never had car problems, because I'm always on top of it. When my car does something, I'm like, yeah, go to the mechanic or something, have it checked. I'm pretty good with that. But that was the first time that my car almost stalled, and I was like freaking out. But I was like thinking, oh my God, this is so 2020. And just when I thought that I was over the 2020, like over that 2020 hump. So in December, I had like 2020 events, like my apartment, the one of the pipes burst and it was flooded, and it like drenched the carpet, and the carpet smelled really terrible and bad, and that was an undertaking in itself. And also I thought, like, yes, there's only a few more days left in 2020, I can survive it. And then lo and behold, I get an infection, and I had to take antibiotics, and I had a severe reaction. I probably had a severe reaction to it, or peanuts, I don't know, but could be either the antibiotics, because I was taking it for a few days, and then I developed like severe reaction that you cannot imagine. Like hives started like traveling from my forearms, and then it started traveling to my shoulder, and it was traveling up and then my neck, and I'm like, oh my God, what is this? And it was really pretty horrible. It was red, it was itchy, and it was growing, and it was pretty intense. And I had to do a Zoom call, and that didn't work out, and I actually had to go to the urgent care, and I was like, please do something, because I can't do this. Like, it was so itchy, and it was traveling, it was getting worse. And they actually, the nurse said, hey, we're going to inject you with steroids, but we're not going to shoot it in your arm. We're going to shoot it in your butt. And I'm like, what? So yeah, she came in with an injection and a needle, and then she injected me on the butt, the right butt. And I swear, like, I have a high tolerance to pain. I really do. I mean, I really do. And that's why probably that's not a good thing, because I have a high tolerance to pain. But I swear that butt injection really hurt. I was like, it was intense pain. And when I walked out, there was like a bunch of people waiting in the urgent care. And I was like, I was holding my butt, and I was limping. I didn't look good. I was like, like it hurts. And then I think they were surprised, and they probably also saw the hives in my body and stuff. So I'm like, I'm sure they were pretty freaked out, having a patient come out of the urgent care and like limping, and then saying, and then saying ouch, or like, and then having like severe hives. So I'm pretty sure I freaked them out. Hopefully they came in, I didn't like stop them or prevent them from getting to their medical appointment. So when I drove back home, it was pretty bad. Like, my right leg was starting to go numb, and I was just like doing like, I was like, I don't know, it's like not a scream, but I was just like, I don't know, I just had to express the pain, because it was so bad, and my legs were starting to go numb. And I swear I was overspeeding, because I could not hit the brakes. I said, why, for God's sakes, would they inject you on the right butt? She could have done it on the left, because the left, basically, you don't have, you don't use it for driving here in America if you drive an automatic, unless you have a manual car. But anyway, So I'm driving an automatic, and then my right leg goes numb, and I just slam on the accelerator, and then I can barely slam on the brakes because it really hurts and it's numb. And I was like pretty terrible, and I just laughed it off again, because isn't that funny? You cap off your ear with an injection to the butt. So that really defined my 2020. And so I don't know, I'm sort of pretty excited for 2021 because I'm sure it's not going to be as bad as 2020, right? I mean, having gone through COVID, having gone through all that mess, and it's that challenging year. And I mean, kudos to me for capping it off with a butt injection of all things. And yeah, you can just really laugh it off. And yeah, I'm drinking to that. So how was your 2020? Can you describe your 2020? Email me at homeofgenie@gmail.com. It's HOMEOFGENIE@gmail.com. I'd really like to hear from you. And thank you very much for listening. So I know, I hope I made you laugh and amused and stuff, or you're pretty horrified probably with what I experienced in 2020. So thank you for listening, and have a nice day.